You're having a super fantastic sparkling day. Welcome to Porchlight Letters podcast number 2476. Today, online doesn't mean it's correct. That's the topic we're going to look at today. And this is, if you find records online, they may not be correct. And we're talking more about hang on, I've got to bring up my notes. I put my notes on my phone this morning. So you might find the records and you go, oh, that's my relative. Yeah, not necessarily. One of the biggest mistakes in genealogy is assuming that if something appears online, it must be true. Not always. No, it's not that simple. Online family trees can be incredibly helpful. And this is when we're talking about online family trees. And this is why when I'm in the family trees, I'm looking at hints and it shows other trees, I do not accept them into my tree. I made that mistake once, just once, and that was enough. And I'm still 20-something years later paying for that mistake. The online family trees, but they can contain incorrect. They can also contain incorrect parents, wrong dates, merged families, assumptions presented as facts, unsourced information copied from tree to tree. One mistake can spread across hundreds of family trees in a surprisingly short amount of time. That's why, as an experienced genealogist, we verify information before accepting it as fact. Good genealogy research means checking original records, comparing multiple sources, looking for timelines that actually make sense, and confirming relationships through documents, not guesswork. Online information is a starting point, not the final answer. The real goal is not just finding information, it's finding accurate information. And I actually posted that this morning on in a program called ProPass, where I'm an expert in genealogy on that system. And somebody asked me what the most surprising inaccuracy I've ever come across. Mine would be a second great-grandfather I came across. This is my big faux pas from 20 years ago. And I looked at the information that they presented and everything matched up with mine. I didn't check the sources. I was still learning about sources at this point. So this is like 20-something years ago when Ancestry started. I mean, I think they were like 1999 or 2000 they started. And I've been with them since the day they started. Basically, almost since the year they started anyway. Maybe the month, maybe the day, I don't know. But anyway, so my most surprising one is that I had a family, somebody had their family tree there. I went, and it came up as a little green leaf. I went into Ancestry. You've got to be careful of the little green leaves. So you know that if it's there, it's a hint. It's not a fact. It is a hint that this might be related to you. You have to verify it first before you can accept it. And so I went into this family tree, had a look and went, yep, they're matching up. The parent name's the same. The person's name's the same. Birth, deaths, marriage is the same. Spouse is the same. The kids are the same. Yep, this looks really good. I accepted it. What I didn't realize, because after it came across, all of a sudden, this guy didn't have one spouse. He had 3 spouses. 3. He was married 3 times, and there was a total of 15 kids, not 8. And I'm looking at this thing going, and it also attached spouses to the children and put other family stuff in. It wasn't just what you were seeing on the screen. It was a kind of like bringing this whole tree over and planting it in your garden, and it spread. So I'm still untangling stuff from that. So now when I go into those, I use them as a hint. Maybe this could be the person. Yes, it looks like it could be the person. I'm not accepting anything so now I go into these trees. I look, where are their sources? What sources do they have that proves this fact? Because if there's no sources, it's mythology. It could be firsthand knowledge, but we don't know that because there's no sources attached. Create a source that said it's firsthand knowledge. But a lot of times, if there are no sources, you just got to take it as mythology. And I'm sorry for those that have researched their tree a lot and they know from their research stuff that the information is correct. But if you don't provide sources where we can go and look up the information ourselves, it's a myth. It might be the right record. We don't know until we go and research. But even still, if there's sources there, we go and verify, are they the right sources? Is it the right person? So there's one person on this particular tree had taken the name, and because it was a common sounding name, they found a marriage record to that person, a marriage record later on to this one, and they thought it was the same person and attached 3 spouses. One of them was correct. The other 2 were belonged to completely different people with the same name that had different parents. They didn't even check the parentage of this because they had this person here, and then they had his parents listed. They had him listed. They had his 3 spouses listed. They had his 15 children listed. There was a lot of untangling to do because they also included the siblings of the second great-grandfather. Yes, so I had to go in and find out that he didn't have that many siblings. Definitely not that many siblings. He only had like about 4 siblings, and they had him with like, I think it was like 9 or 10 siblings. I'm like, yeah, no. And then they had their spouses and their children as well. This was like back in the early days where it just shot across a lot of information. Now it's a little more careful of what information actually brings across. It just brings across that family unit now, which would have been nice back then. Now I'm still paying for that and having to go back and untangle stuff. But yeah, be careful with those family trees. And then you also have to be careful with obituaries. Anything, any record, be careful. Is it the right person? I had a client one time and I was looking up her great-grandfather, found her great-grandfather. Now, this was an interesting one. It was sort of like one of those, really? Are you sure they're not the same person? Yep, I'm sure they're not the same person. So we had one guy. He had his name, his first name, his middle name, his last name. His mother's name was there. Yep, got that. Found his father's name. Yep, that's right. Verified those records. Then was going looking and then found an obituary for this woman, the mother, and had her son listed. The problem was in the obituary, there was another wife listed. And I'm like, that doesn't seem correct. Even though, because at the time that she died, was it the time she died or just after she died? Just before she died. So this guy, the first great-grandfather, got married to the great-grandmother between census reports. So federal census reports. So they got married after 1850 and before 18, no, hang on. It wasn't that. It was later than that. They got married after 1920 and before 1930. And before 1930, they were divorced. So they got married between that 10-year break. But they were in New York State. New York State did census every 5 years. They were split up before the 5-year census. They got married at like 1921 or something, and by 1925 they were separated, which made it difficult trying to find the right person for this. And the marriage date for the one that was found in the obituary was before the couple that I was actually looking for. So we found the obituary. This is when we found out that at around the same time, like within weeks, there were 2 women of the exact same first name who are both married into this family with the same last name. Counties apart. They were in the same state, but in different counties, or within the same county, different towns. So the same county, different towns, or it was separate counties, but the same state. Definitely the same state. We're going to call them Gertrude because it was something like Gertrude or Gwendolyn or something like that. So Gertrude 1 was married in one particular county and had a son with the name. And then Gertrude 2 was married was in a different county, and she was married to a different person. Both had the same last name. So I'm not sure if they were brothers or cousins yet. We still haven't found that out. We're not worried about it right now. We're just got to make sure we keep these guys separate. So what did I say? Gertrude 1 and Gertrude 2 both had boys within weeks of each other. Within weeks. It was like 3 or 4 weeks, I think it was. I'd have to go back into that tree and have a look. Gertrude 1 named her son, what did she name him? I'm just going to say for now, Kevin Murray Smith. We'll go with that. Kevin Murray Smith. Gertrude number 2 had her son a couple of weeks later and named her son Kevin Murray Smith. We now had 2 boys, the exact same name, are born around the same time in 2 different counties of the same state. Both had mothers called Gertrude. Both had mothers called, but their husbands had different names. Same last name, both had Smith. Husbands' names were different. What we had to be careful about, because they were in the same state, is that as we were following them through their lives, we actually had to create a create a spreadsheet. Here's what did I call him? Kevin Murray Smith 1 and Kevin Murray Smith 2. And here is their information. And we had to, and every time we came up to a record, we'd put the information in there and see which timeline it fitted. And then it was like, okay, it fits that timeline, but is it the right one? It took a lot of work of sorting this one out, and we stumbled across it because of a obituary for Gertrude 2. So Gertrude 2's obituary we came across and found Kevin Murray Smith listed in there with his wife, who was not the wife he got married to and divorced from. It was a different wife, and we thought, well, maybe he got remarried, and that was her mate. No, because when we did the research, he had a different father on his birth certificate. And of course, like I said, it was within 2 to 3 weeks that these two guys were born in the same state, different. I'm pretty sure it was the same county, different towns. I'm pretty sure it was in a different town. So there was no way it could be, because they both had different fathers as well. So that was something we had to be very conscious of when researching this particular gentleman, as to whether or not did he belong to Gertrude 1, did he belong to Gertrude 2. And the Gertrude 2 one actually married his wife before, and was still married his wife and stayed with her the whole way through. But their marriage date was before Gertrude 1's son got married the first time, after 1920. Gertrude 2 got married in like 1918, somewhere around there. It was before the 1920 census, because I found them on the 1920 census as newlyweds. But I couldn't find Gertrude 1's son on there. I could find his son on there, but I could not find his wife on there because they had not been married at that time. They got married like 1921. And then they were separated by 1925. Whereas this Gertrude 2's son had stayed consistent with the same wife the whole way through. So watch out for things like that. Yes, it might appear to be the right person. Dig a little deeper. Dig a little deeper. If you want help digging a little deeper, just scan the QR code up here and set up a 30-minute discovery call, and let's get you started on finding the right people to go into your tree. And always remember, double check everything. Even if they have sources, look at the sources. Make sure that you can't find them anywhere else. Are they related to somebody else? Genealogy is not a sprint. It is a marathon. And it is one of the world's most complex puzzles you will ever encounter. And with that, I am out of here. Go out, have a super fantastic, sparkling evening, and we'll catch you guys back here tomorrow evening at 6 p.m.